Right, I think it's time. Okay, welcome everyone to the Paketo working group meeting. I'm glad to see you here. Today, as this is the first meeting in the new month, we will have roadmap update today as part of the agenda. Again, I'm sharing the agenda and notes link for folks who just joined. Right, let me share my screen real quick. Okay, totally optional, but feel free to add yourself to the attendees list, including your affiliations. Okay, is there someone who would like to take notes for today's session?
I can take notes.
Thank you. Cool. Okay, yeah, well, not exactly new faces here. All right. Okay, so let's get started. Go to roadmap review. The goal here is to go through each one of the items in the roadmap and try to have a brief update on the current status, right? So we'll start with the secure runtime environments, RC45. Is there any update about the specific RC status?
I think we have at least one instance where we've done something on this front. I think it was the npm install build pack. Tim, I think you were the one who ultimately, yeah, I'm seeing the thumbs up. The idea generally here is just that we need to be able to do things like mark directories as readable from the same group if they're like running in a build versus a run image. I think Tim brought this up at a working group meeting last week. Is that right? Other than that, the other way we're planning to kind of resolve this issue is by moving all the build packs to run on top of Jamie. So by default, Jamie will have a different build user than a run user ID, and that will force our hands to make all of these changes on this front. So this is in progress. It's just getting driven out, not directly through this RFC, but via other mechanisms.
Got it. Thank you, Ryan. Okay. Next one. Find an image and dependency retention policy for Paketo images. So again, is there any update about this topic? Has there been any progress? I think there is an RC for image retention policy, right? Let me see.
Yeah, I think the policy has been defined. It just hasn't been implemented yet.
Okay. Okay, so the summary will be just that, right? Policy has been defined, not implemented yet, correct? Thank you, Emily. Cool. Next up, the stack descriptor and tooling.
This is
Okay.
done. There's an implementation for the stack descriptor and tooling stuff in the jam repository under the create stack command. It's also been documented. If you check out the Paketo.io website, there's some new documentation outlining how to use that subcommand. So I would say this is something we can remove from the roadmap at this point. That is a completed item.
Great. It's done. Documented. Awesome. Thank you. Next up, stack based on Ubuntu YAML Jellyfish.
This is in progress. I can drop a link here in the minutes to like where you can follow along. We're starting with the Jammy Tiny Stack. And we're posting updates about this in the recently created Stacks Slack channel and the Paketo Slack. I'll put a link to that channel in the minutes as well.
Thank you. Thanks so much. Okay, next up in the improving Buildpack authoring experience theme, there is author-generated reference documentation. It's pretty cool. So wondering if there's been progress, what the status of this initiative?
No progress that I know of. So this is a candidate for anyone who's interested to pick up as a project that we could drive forward. I think we would need to probably add support in Packet for what's kind of outlined as the definitions for the environment variables that are shown there in that kind of example. And then we'd also need some tooling to actually generate the reference documentation and get those things added to the website.
That's great. Thank you, Ryan. Okay, now in terms of improvements to dependency management and caching, we have an exploration. Buildpack dependency management improvements.
Yep, so there was a lot of thoughtful discussion on this issue, and we have also opened 4 RFCs related to addressing this, which we can talk about in the RFC section, but this is in progress right now.
Great. Thank you, Sophie. Right. Yeah, we have other open RFCs, but we have a section just for RFCs, right? I think we could cover those in that section.
These are, sorry, maybe this header is poorly labeled. These are like other RFCs that are not, I guess, open as like a pull request open, but are like open in that they're not fully implemented.
Okay.
So they've already been like
They are already
accepted.
approved.
Yes.
Okay.
They just haven't been fully implemented in the project.
Okay. Okay, so is there a point to go through them in terms of roadmap, if they are all ready to be implemented but not implemented yet, or?
Well, I think when I wrote the doc originally in the last meeting, they were unimplemented, but I do believe there's a handful of them that are now implemented at this point. So it's worth maybe just at least having that discussion of whether or not they should still be on the roadmap, considering their current state.
Okay, cool. So the dependency mappings RFC, what's the status of that one?
I'm not mistaken, I believe that this is done. If you go look at the underlying tracking issue, one of the things that this was waiting on was the rewrite of the PHP build pack, which was finished not too long ago.
Yep. Correct. Thank you, Forrest. I think I will open the issue. Yeah, next one, distribute build packs via Docker Hub. Interesting. Seems like it's in progress. Is that correct, Ryan?
Yeah, I think Dan, who doesn't appear to be on the call, would have an idea of when he might be able to get to this. I think the Buildpacks he is a maintainer for in the Java space are the only ones that maybe haven't done this. I just don't know what the state is.
Yeah, I know Java was the laggard here, but also that it was being worked on. I think there's a chance it's done at this point, but we would need to check in with them.
Got it. Thank you. Okay, next one, support HTTP functions in Go Buildpack.
I think the current state of this is that the steering committee needs to talk about a process for removing or reverting the addition of an RFC to the project. I just don't see this moving forward in the state that it's currently in. It maybe made sense at the time when we actually approved it and merged it, but I don't think it makes sense now. The parties that were kind of pushing for it aren't involved in the project anymore. And we don't really have any, at least immediately identified parties who would be interested in this particular feature set in its current state. I think maybe there's a different RFC that should be written around function support in Buildpacks, but I don't think it's this one. So I will put that as an action item on the steering committee, that we need to have a process for saying like this RFC does not apply and will not be implemented as written.
This one, maybe we could supersede with a different strategy for functions, but yeah, we don't have a process for just like totally wholesale undoing something. I know some friends of the project have been working on implementing functions on top of, Paketo base Buildpack functionality, and might be open to donating it. So I think we should work with those folks I think that'd be a really good outcome for all of us if we can facilitate that.
Okay, next one, default behavior for Buildpack set language ecosystem environment.
I think the only thing that's missing here is like a survey of the current set of Buildpacks, just to make sure that like everything we have today is actually in compliance with what's written here. I can't think of anything that I know of that's like willfully out of step with what is outlined here, but we should do due diligence and look through everything just to make sure we're fully in compliance. And I think at that point, it just becomes kind of a running compliance requirement for Buildpacks going forward. But we should definitely just check to make sure we aren't already violating this in any place. Other than that, I think, yeah, do an audit and fix any issues that maybe are outstanding, I think is the next step.
Given the large and increasing breadth of sort of the set of Buildpacks and things we support, I wonder if there's room to use spreadsheets more in this project than we have in the past. Just in terms of like, here's all the components and like, here's all the different initiatives and here's the state of each of them. Might help us consume this information more easily.
Okay, great. All right, next one will be environment variable configuration of Buildpack. So this is done, right?
Yeah, I think the PHP Buildpack, which was kind of the laggard here, is now in compliance.
Okay. Great. Next up, common login levels for Buildpack.
I know this has kind of been happening as a little bit of a grassroots effort, but I don't know if we've done a very good job of tracking the places where this currently exists. I know that when folks have done things like upgrade a Buildpack to use the V2 packet API, this change or what's requested here is like included oftentimes in the change set. But I don't think we've done a very good job of like checking it off a list to say like, yes, this is done. So I think this also falls into the category of like, we should go and audit Buildpacks to confirm that they do have this functionality so that we can say that it exists in all the places that it should.
Okay, that will be the action item. Right. Thank you. Next up, reloadable process types. Yeah, we'll add and feed Daniel here. So not sure if anyone else has an update about this one.
I think we're just missing the two that are listed there, PHP and Ruby. There are open issues. We just haven't gotten around. If other folks on this call maybe are interested in contributing that particular feature set, there's a ton of examples across the project for how to go about implementing this particular feature.
Okay, thank you, Ryan. Okay, remote debug.
It's like we got some work to do still on this one.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest roadblocks to this is getting more information about like idiomatic ways in which these different language ecosystems do remote debugging. So if folks have experience on those fronts, if you're, I don't know, an avid PHP developer and know really how to do remote debugging in a container with a PHP process, then like feel free to open an issue and tell us what you think your kind of best practice for that front would be. That would be really helpful information for us as a project.
Okay, next up, support for Cyclone DX and fifth one. Where are you? Okay, there you go. So it seems like in progress, right?
Yeah, I think one of the .NET maintainers might be able to articulate a little bit more what the C of .NET Core is. But I know that PHP and web servers are kind of in a state where we're just, I believe at this point, they're ready to implement. We just haven't gotten around to actually like doing the implementations.
Okay. Okay. Great. Thanks. Yeah, frankly, just let me know if we are going too fast to be able to take note. Okay. Right, the use direct processes and exec.e. Yeah, I would say that in progress, but I don't know if that's correct. If there's any update about this one.
Pretty sure we did this for Python, so I can go and check this off. I didn't know this RFC existed. So I think you can essentially call this done.
Okay, thank you, Rob. Provide global mechanism to disable this bomb generation.
I believe this is done. Victoria, didn't you work on a PR that added this feature to Node? I don't know, Victoria, if I can hear you, if it's just me or.
I'm sorry about that. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, yeah, I did do this a while back. This is done. I didn't know there was an RFC for this.
No problem. We'll just make sure that this gets closed out.
Yeah, I'll do that.
You vote. Right. Next up, web servers build pack promotion. I see that's done.
Yeah, we have a web service build pack. Try it out. Give us feedback.
Ooh. Restructuring PHP build packs. That's also done. Yeah. It's already there. Publish build process configuration options. That's for the .NET Core build pack. And seems like it's done. Yeah, like 3 weeks ago. Right. From the web servers team, support for JavaScript front-end apps. Yeah, it's done. And finally, for Zero config build processes. Yeah, so this one. It's also done. All right. Yeah, seems like we need some format to have better tracking of the status of roadmap items and RFCs. So I don't know if we open a discussion so everyone can chime in. I don't know. Yeah, but I've seen in the past GitHub projects work, at least to be able to track status. But yeah, spreadsheets provide even more details. So we'll need to find a format to centralize the visibility of all this. Right, any other update about roadmap? All right, well, next up, we could, if you haven't seen enough RFCs, we could review outstanding RFCs now. So we could start with the health checker build pack RFC. Yeah, there were some updates. Yeah, this week.
I think this whole segment is going to be Emily feeling ashamed that I haven't gotten around to reviewing a bunch of these yet, including this one. I think Dan and I were just arguing some of the details, like flags versus positional arguments, stuff like that, but that there wasn't a lot of controversy on the overarching plan, unless someone else had a different take.
So that's the status. Thank you, Emily. Extend.NET SDK.
Yeah, this is on me. I just had a conversation with my fellow .NET maintainers the other day. There's a couple pieces that we just want to rework about this to get some clarification in terms of the problem that this is solving. Outside of discussion with InterStackOff, who's this comment thread around the issues that he's also seeing. So hopefully we will get this RSC to a place and then be able to potentially open up an RSC in the future to address some of his further concerns. But I need to just rework this. So
Thank you, Forrest. The form for Yarnberry.
Yeah, apologies. There hasn't been a ton of movement on this week from my end. I was out for a few days, but I will be back on it, or I am back on it today.
Thank you, Tim. Okay, and propose to add additional issue templates. Yeah, that I think it's, yeah, it already it has the reviews. So yeah, probably we'll check with Daniel how we can move this forward. Okay, cool. Jammy builders. Some recent updates.
Yeah, I tweaked this based on a conversation that we were having about multi-architecture support. The latest version of the RFC should be up to date. Please take a look if you have opinions about builders, and in particular, if you have thoughts about multi-architecture support in the future.
Thank you, thank you. Okay, next. Yeah, add live reload library.
Yeah, I wrote this up. This is a library to standardize some of how we include live reload functionality into the build packs. The way we do that right now is with watch exec. We've already done that for most of the Paketo build packs, as we saw in a previous RFC. But there are a few new ones, and I think that this could even add value to some of the ones that we have already implemented this in. It adds some helper functions and some standardization around how we do that, so that build pack authors need to know less about watch exec internals to implement this. They're able to code against an interface instead of having to spell out watch exec CLI parameters and things like that. Because this library will manipulate things like the processes, it's going to be pretty tightly coupled to another library for, Packet v2 or libcnb. Dan had some concerns about that, and so suggested renaming it to make it very clear that this iteration would at least this iteration would be Packet v2 dependent. And then eventually, once we all standardize on libcnb v2, we can move in that direction. So I just added that commit. I was hoping to chat with him at this meeting about it, but went ahead and just updated it as per his suggestion.
Thank you, Josh. That's a great intro. Is there any comment about this RFC? Well, we already had some in the PR. Okay, great. Yeah, thank you, Josh. Seems like most of these RFCs are new, so I will ask the authors to do the same as Josh did, provide a brief intro. So now the dependency management RFC.
Yeah, so this is what I was talking about earlier. This is specific one is the overview RFC for 3 phases that I've kind of explored and outlined for updating our dependency management system in the project. So there are kind of a bunch of different concerns that we have that was like laid out in that original issue that Brian had posted. And so in an effort to address some of those issues, most of our build packs right now are using this thing. The non-Java build packs are using the dep server. So we are going to be kind of moving away from that model and shifting a lot of our dependency specific logic into the build packs. So that's kind of what the phase 1 RFC is all about, kind of like our migration strategy to move all of that logic into each build pack and have a lot of those decisions be made directly by language family maintainers. And then also where we can stop compiling dependencies and use them directly from their upstream like locations rather than, doing all this extra processing, which may or may not be necessary. And then the second phase is about how we're gonna kind of use all this code that will live in the build packs to perform dependency retrieval and updates in our actual build packs. So eventually this will end up in workflows, but it also kind of outlines like how all these steps will work together. And then the third step is just kind of how we will migrate away from using the dep server and what our plan will be for legacy dependencies and things like that. So any specific feedback you have on specific steps, I'd love to see on like the specific phase RFCs. But if you have like different ideas for the top level plan, feel free to leave feedback on the overview RFC. And as discussions go along, I will be updating like the overview as well as the different phases. So definitely check it out.
Thank you, Safi. That's great. Any question about this RFC? Okay, next up. Yeah, well, yeah, we see the 3 RFCs there, the 3 phases. So that's pretty much it. Okay, anything else in terms of RFCs you would like to discuss here? Share. Okay, so we can move to the next item. CMV updates. Well, at least I haven't found much from last week, besides the recording from the KubeCon session is up. It's a very educational one. I learned a lot from Sam and Natalie, so feel free to check it out and discuss there. Okay. I don't know if there's any other upstream update that you're aware of you would like to drop here. Okay, project
Oh, just
updates.
real quick, actually.
Oh yeah.
Yes. I noticed that the remove stacks and mix-ins RFC that was like long open in the upstream cloud native build packs is finally closed. Like it has been merged, which I think will have like significant ramifications for Paketo. So if you've been waiting to take a look at that, now is probably the time to take a look. I'll find the link.
One thing I've sort of been pushing on in the upstream is that we need like clear guides around migration and sort of how you can and can't maintain backwards compatibility. So hopefully there should be more details forthcoming there as well in the shared written location that we can reference for Paketo purposes.
Thank you, Frankie. Okay, nothing else? So move to the next one. Project update. Well, more than update, and besides what you may share here in terms of updates, I had a question. It's regarding this issue that is part of all the findings from the OSS health assessment that I shared a couple of weeks ago. And this was an idea, a proposal that I wanted to also surface here. And it's right now we have this meeting, the working group meeting. But at least from my point of view, and remember that I'm still fairly new to the project, but from my point of view, it's a meeting more designed for contributors and for people who want to propose ideas, discuss ideas to improve the project in terms of RFCs, everything that is new and it keeps expanding the scope and improving the project. But not exactly designed for users adopting Paketo Buildpacks. Probably I'm wrong, but that's the impression so far. And a proposal to try to address that will be to have a new user meeting. The baseline of all of this is that I don't believe in filling up calendars with meetings. That doesn't produce more engagement in the community. But in this particular instance, I will see a user meeting, for example, with a monthly cadence, something that could be useful. We could provide the updates on roadmap execution there. The another goal is to open, like in the issue, open up the floor for users to ask questions. I know that a monthly cadence is not especially useful for someone who's having a problem, but probably it's useful to make our communication more scalable in terms of if we are the ones to who collect, I don't know, frequent questions from users in Slack, and we prepare some short demonstration. Hey, here's how you fix this problem, or here's how you use this specific build pack. That's recorded and it's easily scalable. More than probably just answering the same question all over again. So, and also a place to get to know the community of adopters and users of Paketo Buildpacks. So the issues there, you can chime in, provide your observations, your objections, etc. But it's a proposal of one of many in the action plan. Try to open more communication paths with the community. This time it will be a synchronous path with the community. I don't know if anyone has any talk right now. Otherwise, you could put it in the issue. Is it clear now? The idea, the proposal? Yeah. All right. Yeah, well, that was it so far. Anything else you would like to share here, discuss? Nope. Well, a ton of content. Thank you, Frankie. Thank you, Frankie, for taking a lot of notes today. And thanks everyone for attending. Hope to see you next week.